You know, when I'm fishing a chatterbait, one of the key things is to every bait to me is when you make a cast, you want that bait to work perfect every single time. When it hits that water, you want it to run right. You don't want to be out there having to pop it and do all this different stuff to it to try to make it run, coming in, adjusting on it and all that. Because when we're in tournament mode, we want to be ready. We want to be moving right then, everything be perfect. So on a chatterbait, to me, one of the most important things is the freedom of the blade. And there's a lot of chatterbaits that I've tried and I've used and everything. And one of the main things I do to them is I'll take a chatterbait, as soon as I get it, I'll take the blade off the head usually, or I'll just get the blades and put them on the heads. But the first thing I do is, here's an example. That's the hole on the right here, or on your left, that came, you know, already drilled. I take an 1/8 ounce drill bit and I drill that hole out. I make it bigger before I ever do anything with this blade. So when it's on that hook, when it's on that line eye, and I want to shake it, and anything I want to do with it, it's not sticking in any way. I mean, it's absolutely free. So when it hits the water every single time, that blade is free, it's ready. I mean, it's already got the vibration going, and I mean, it works perfect every single time. The other thing I do sometimes is I'll go in, and where my clip is on the blade at, I don't like small holes in it, so I'll even go in and drill those out. I want everything that I've got going on that blade, I want it to be absolutely free. I've had chatterbaits so many times before that the blade will stick down here, or it'll stick over here. You're constantly popping it, you're having to work it. This, with the freedom, you get so much more clacking out of the bait, you get so much better action, and your trailer really goes stupid behind it, because the bait's, like I say, it's got so much freedom. And then when I'm throwing this chatterbait, I always like to keep mine trimmed about even with the bottom of the hook, just like it is now, my skirt. It's real close to being exactly where it needs to be, as far as I'm concerned, because the trailer is everything to me. I like that action of that bait, of that trailer being behind this bait, no matter what I'm throwing behind it. And one of my most favorites is always going to be like the, you know, like the crawl type baits or the twin tail type baits. I've got the straight tail type bait, I mean the swim bait type action. But I always like to go in and be able to take this bait, put it on as a trailer, pull it up to where it goes, and when I get it up there, the action of the trailer, the swimming action, is always past the skirt. Anything that sticks to, that hangs down on that skirt, that touches any part of your trailer's action, is taken away from it. So that's basically the main things that I like to do with the trailer. The next thing is I like a hook. I like a really good hook, preferably a black nickel. And if I can take that black nickel, or any hook really, but like I say, I prefer it, the strength wise in it. And I'll take that hook and I'll stick a pair of pliers in it, and I don't really force it and I don't weaken the hook, but I kind of evenly mash to open that, raise that up just a little bit. So whenever I'm looking at my line tie right here on this jig head straight across, this points up above that line. So you're always going to get a better hook up that way and everything. And that's one of the main things. I probably do that first to them after I put the blade on them the way I want them and everything. But just basically like that is the main things I like to do with it. The next thing I like to do with it is I always like to throw it on fluorocarbon, and I like to throw it on a medium heavy action rod. If I go anything, you know, line wise, if I was to go and throw it on braid, I'm really going to back down. I'm going to throw it on like a medium. A chatterbait, people don't understand, is so much like a crankbait. You need that rod to have that forgiveness in it. You get more action out of it. And then when you get that fish to bite it, he really comes up on it and eats it, where a lot of times if you're fishing too heavy of a rod, too sensitive a rod, or fishing braid or whatever, when that fish moves that bait, when he's coming, and the force of him coming to get that bait a lot of times takes water away from that bait, and you feel it before the fish even has an opportunity to get a hold of it, and you set the hook. So I always never go heavier than a medium heavy, and I've even gotten to where now I'm throwing it on a cranking rod, a medium heavy cranking rod, on like 16 or 15 and 17 pound fluorocarbon. So those are basically my tips to throwing a chatterbait.